So for Father's Day, Jen and I guess Lisa got us a tour for Maui Brewing Company here in Maui. So we're gonna go through the brewery tour, and then we'll enjoy some lunch afterwards. Come along on this adventure with us.
Welcome to Maui Brewing, and happy Father's Day to my fellow fathers as well as those celebrating fathers. Where's everybody from? Thanks for taking that little trip.
The San Francisco Bay Area.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
We're from the Bay Area also.
All right, I'm originally from Austin, Texas. Thank you for coming. The tour will go in 3 parts. First, we'll talk in here a bit, then we'll go inside the brewery, follow the production of beer from start to finish, see some things of interest both inside and outside the brewery, and then we'll come back in here and sample our 4 flagship beers and root beer or ginger beer. Sound good? All right, a little history. Maui Brewing was founded in 2005 by Garrett Marrero at a small brew pub here on Maui in Kahana on the west side north of Kaanapali. At that time, the directions were look for the McDonald's. We had about 30 employees. Currently, we have about 800 employees in 5 locations. That remains our Lahaina restaurant. It is no longer a production facility. This is the only production facility in addition to being a large restaurant. We have a restaurant at the Outrigger Kaanapali Resort and 2 locations on Oahu, one in Waikiki, one in Kailua. We distribute to 28 mainland states as far east as eastern Pennsylvania, as well as to Canada, Japan, and certain US military installations. Now when I talk about beer and beer production, I'm going to talk in terms of barrels. A barrel of beer is 31 gallons, so when you go to your retailer to get a keg, you typically get a half barrel, 15.5 gallons. But when I talk about how much beer is in some of the vessels, I'll actually break it down into 12-ounce cans. That way you'll have a real-world appreciation by virtue of something you've literally held in your hand. I'll start by telling you that a barrel consists of 328 12-ounce cans of beer. So at the original location from 2005 to 2007, we produced about 320 barrels annually, months beginning. In 2007, we opened up a production facility in Lahaina that we sold to Kihei Brewing in 2015, and they in turn lost it last August in the fire. During those years, yes, 12:30. And during those years, we topped out at about 22,000 barrels annually, so definitely the right direction. In 2014, on these 5 acres, we opened up this facility. At that time, it consisted of 42,000 square feet. It did not include the restaurant. It did include this tasting room, no restaurant, thus food trucks out on the street. And in 2018, we nearly doubled in size to 82,000 square feet. We added the restaurant, we pushed the back wall of the brewery back to a large both our cold box and our barrel room, and we added a copper still. In 2019, we were voted America's favorite solar craft brewery, which brings me to 3 themes we'll cover during the tour. The first of which is sustainability, the second of which is local, and the third of which is independent. We're recognized by the Brewers Association to be an independent craft brewery. We're not owned by Big Beer or a conglomerate acquiring a portfolio of craft breweries. And in 2021, for the first time, we made the Brewers Association top 50 list in terms of production. We finished 43rd, producing in excess of 62,000 barrels. Now the top 3 for 2021 through last year were Yingling out of Pennsylvania, Boston Beer, which is both Sam Adams and Dogfish Head, and Sierra Nevada. In 2022, in part due to our acquisition of Modern Times Brewery in San Diego, under our now parent name Craft Ohana, we actually finished 28th in terms of all-American craft breweries and 38th for all-American breweries of any ownership style, producing in excess of 80,000 barrels. Last year, 26th and 36th, respectively, in excess of 103,000 barrels. That's in addition to the other beverages we produce here at the brewery that we'll talk about during the tour. Now, some awards that we've won. I'll tell you at the start that thankfully, the Spam Trophy is not for a beer, but if you find somebody who tried to brew a Spam beer, let me know. I don't know. I'd just be curious to know how the nerve to try. It's actually for an amateur brewing contest. In 2017, Garrett Marrero was named by the United States Small Business Administration as the Small Business Person of the Year, a national award. Again, 2019, America's favorite solar craft brewery. But I promise when we go outside, I'll justify mentioning that more than once. And a couple of beer awards. 2016, Great American Beer Festival. we won gold for our Imperial Coconut Porter. And in 2018 at the World Beer Cup, we won gold for our Valley Isle ESB. ESB stands for Extra Special Bitter. That is a British beer style. So it should give you an idea of the versatility of the type of beer we produce here at the brewery. Now at this point, it's your turn. What are the 4 main ingredients in beer?
Water, hops, yeast, and barley.
Well, barley is the predominant grain used to brew beer. It's not the only one, so we're going to call the first category grains. For example, if you look at our board in the middle, third column, you'll see ciabatta as a rice lager, and ciabatta is where in Japan we source the rice. If you look in the first column, near the top, you'll see Pineapple Mana, one of our flagship beers we'll be sampling. That is an American wheat beer. An American wheat beer is by definition, the grain bill is 20 to 40% wheat. So the grains provide the color of the beer, the backbone of the beer, in certain instances, aroma and flavor, and are the original source of the sugars that the yeast consume to produce the alcohol. Second ingredient, hops. Hops provide aroma, bitterness, flavor, and stability. Third ingredient, water. We use Maui municipal water. And what we do is we charcoal filter it to remove the chlorine, then we actually add minerals to it to affect both the pH and the hardness. Because what we try to do when we brew here is to brew with an approximation of the water that exists in the locality where the beer style was first made. So for example, when we brew a Pilsner, we try to brew with Pilsen Czech Republic water. When we brew an IPA, we try to brew with Burton-on-Trent England water. Fourth ingredient, yeast. I'll tell you here that we propagate or grow our own yeast here at the brewery, but we'll talk about yeast in more detail inside the brewery in front of the yeast station. Safety tips, please grab a pair of goggles, and these large ones will fit over your eyeglasses. Second, don't touch anything. It may be hot or it may involve chemicals. Third, stay in the corridor. Don't walk between any vessels, but watch the line painted on the edge of the corridor because the floor is beveled. I don't want you to step on the edge and roll an ankle. Stay close to me so you can hear me and also so I can keep an eye on you. And finally, I'll point out any potential tripping or slipping hazards. We should be fine. But there's a tendency sometimes to kind of look up and go, well, look at that. Well, if you do that, that's fine. As long as one eye's up there, but the other one stays down here. Now, feel free to ask questions, and if I don't know the answer to one of your questions, I will simply confess I don't know. I don't like to make things up and misrepresent what we do in the brewery. And feel free to take still photographs when we're inside. So with that, grab some goggles, we'll go inside. And finally, when you go inside on the right, you'll see a rack of yellow safety vests. I don't care if you Velcro it, but as long as it's over your shoulders, I will have complied. Okay, so with that, grab some goggles, we'll go inside and get started. Cans of beer, so if all 18 are full at any one time, which is often the case, it'd be just under 1.5 million cans of beer. Enough to get through a weekend, right?
Right.
Maybe not a holiday
Super
weekend,
Bowl, I don't know.
2-day weekend, yeah, exactly. Now, people often ask, why do we keep these out in the hot Maui sun? And the answer is because we can. Just like the vessels inside, they're insulated with what are called glycol jackets. So we run the chemical glycol through the jacket, and you can control the temperature inside the tank to within 1/2 degree Fahrenheit. Now on the left is an elevator with a dumbwaiter. That's used for dry hopping, a big swell IPA that we'll be sampling in some reasons. First, because we are on a rock in the middle of the Pacific, very time consuming and expensive to get CO2 here to Maui. But more importantly, CO2 is a greenhouse gas, and we didn't want to release that into the atmosphere. So what we do instead is we put these chemicals at the top of the fermentation tanks. We direct the CO2 created during fermentation to the CO2 recovery plant, and we're capable of recovering about 60% of the CO2 we actually need to operate the brewery. It'd be closer to 80% if we were beer only, but we need to carbonate the soft drinks, hard seltzers, craft cocktails, and now the hard tea. They're not fermented, so they don't make their own CO2. In effect, they borrow from the beer only, closer to 80%. Now the plan has been, in an effort to bridge some or all of that remaining gap, to implement what's called a direct air capture system. So not only will we not release CO2 into the atmosphere, we'll actually start pulling it from the surrounding atmosphere and use that CO2 as well to condition our products. So in my way of thinking, you could say currently it's set up to be carbon neutral. Once we implement the direct air capture system, we'll actually be carbon negative. Now there'll still be plenty of CO2 in the atmosphere for all these monkeypox trees, and every time you open a can of beer, you'll release CO2 into the atmosphere. So unless one of you has a better way to carbonate beverages, if you do, we'll talk after the tour. We'll have to live with that. But I can guarantee you on the manufacturing side, we do everything we can to minimize the harm to the planet. Other than beer, of course, sustainability is why I really enjoy brewing. And you're going to hear more.